As you can see in your packet, the press release will be going out soon. I sent that over to our communications department, and we have several letters that go to the affected property owners on those streets, along with the press release for everybody else to see. Asphalt mill in place projects, Cleveland, Cedar to Peach. All sanitary repairs are completed along with the ditching and tiling. We now have the pulverizer on schedule to come in August 24th. I believe that's a Wednesday. He'll be here for a couple days, as you'll hear throughout my update here. And black dirting and hydroseeding is also scheduled for next week. Asphalt paving still needs to get scheduled yet, but shouldn't be too far behind. Cedar, Grant to Daggy. Gas company is working on services here and on Grant. They're doing that together because of the way they tied in the mains, they have to do all the services on Cedar and Grant at the same time. After that, the pulverizer will be scheduled again for the 24th, and asphalt paving won't be far behind. Like I said, Cedar, Grant to Daggy, same thing. Gas companies working on services. And once they're completed, ditching and tiling will follow immediately. Hinman, this is going to be our last big project of the year. What we found out on the Hinman project that we had several failing sanitary lateral connections to the main. So we're going to go through and fix all of those connections at the main and do the laterals also. And once the gas company is going to be in there starting later this week or next week, they got 2 to 3 weeks worth of work and followed up. The water department's going to come in and put the main in. We're going to give them about a week. And after they get out of our way, we're going to start on the sanitary laterals and water lateral replacements. And once they're done with the main on the other end, they're going to have another crew that do the same. So we're going to work in conjunction with the water department on that project, just like we did in Arlington for the sanitary and water laterals over there. And I'll give you an update on Arlington here in a second. McMillan, Lincoln, the western city limits, that had the 50-50 bridge aid project where the Marathon County came in and put the concrete culvert pipes in. Last week, the guys got the head walls poured, and I think Dan's going to show you that picture. We got those poured, and today they got the floor and aprons poured today. So we'll be pulling out of there sometime later on tomorrow. We just have to, after we're done, we just got to do some touch up, move the riprap around and do a little touch up. And that the culvert replacement project will be completed. We have already replaced the culverts that need to get replaced on that project in the ditch lines for the residents out there. And again, that project is scheduled for that August 24th, next Wednesday, when that pulverizers come in. We'll pulverize that and get that paved. Chapel, Adams to North Hills, again, that's scheduled for the 24th to get pulverized, and then we'll follow up with the ditching and tiling on that street. Jefferson, Schmidt to the west cul-de-sac, actually, they started that last week and they finished it up today with the ditching and tiling. So that's scheduled for pulverizing also. And then we'll follow up with the black dirt and hydroseeding next week. Balboa is now complete, other than the shouldering and touch-ups out there. The asphalt overlay, Apple, Daggy to Becker is completed. That's all we have to do is paint the center line out there. And that's good for the school traffic over there. So that one got done last week, Thursday or Friday, I do believe. And one's all done. Road-based construction with new asphalt, Grant, Peach to Cedar. Again, gas companies doing services, which is tied in with the Cedar projects. Once they're completed, asphalt will be scheduled. We have all the road restoration up to a point where we're just waiting for the gas company to come out, and then we'll finish up putting our road base in, and American Asphalt can come in and fine grade that and pave it for us. Franklin, they're out on Franklin right now. No, actually, the gas company will be there next week to replace the main and services. And once they're done, again, we have the road base cut and just waiting for them to get done over there, and we'll get some road base down and get that one scheduled. Arlington, Columbus to Lincoln. That was one of our biggest projects this year. That was a complete sanitary sewer main replacement along with all the laterals, water and sewer. They have about 8 laterals left out there, and they'll finish that up this week. And the subcutting crew is actually starting out there tomorrow to start subcutting that road to get it ready for American Asphalt to come in. So we got about 2 weeks out there, and we'll get that one scheduled. Park and Rec has the Wildwood Park Road scheduled for repaving this year. And I know you guys all seen some emails on that, but that's actually scheduled that same time, that next Wednesday when the pulverizer comes in. I would assume he's going to be here probably 2 to 3 days to pulverize all the roads that we have ready for him. There's 3 culverts to replace on that. And Ben has hired Bach Construction to replace those culverts for him this week. So that one's moving right along too. So all in all, like I said, we accomplished a lot so far. It's the middle of August. We're starting to lose our seasonal help. We got a lot done, but there's still a lot left to do. The push is on. And not only do we have our normal scheduled projects, we also have the miscellaneous type new culvert sets. We have 5 of them scheduled for next week, which usually requires some ditching and restoration. So I want to say thanks to the water department, Eric and John. It's been great to work with this year, especially when we come up on Hinman, where we're going to be tackling some of these sanitary and sewer water laterals together. We'll have 2 crews on that street and to really pick the pace up a little bit out there. So with that, I'll enter. Picture here. This would be a typical mill and replace project where we go through and we put drain tile in and new culverts. This is on Jefferson cul-de-sac. That would be Schmidt at the top of the picture, looking west towards the cul-de-sac right there. So, and the guys got that done this week. And that's headed towards the cul-de-sac right there. What's really unique about this picture here is not if the grade of the ditch is in pretty good, pretty close to the grade that the engineers designed, we've learned that we don't have to strip the whole right away at the topsoil. For this application here, that's all we did was we went through and we put our drain tile in, and it's 1 foot below the finished grade of the ditch. And as you can see, we didn't have to strip the whole back slope, which really expedites the process of restoration for black dirting and hydroseeding. And here's a great picture of the end walls. I think Tom had a picture without the end or without the wall. The guys did a really nice job on that. And like I said, today they poured the floor, so that's all wrapped up and really look good tomorrow. This is a picture of the Apple project overlay over by the high school and Madison School. I think that's Madison over there. I got a picture of them. They got the first pass on the on Apple, and the left side of the picture is the shiny stuff is the tack that they put down to make sure that asphalt sticks to that concrete. So, and there's a finished product on Balboa. The only thing we have to do left out there is put the shoulders on, and we'll wait till it cools off a little bit. If you go out and we have road sensor on our trucks. If you go out on a day like last week where it was 80 degrees out and not a cloud in the sky, the pavement temperature actually reads about 120 degrees. So we don't want to go out there with our machines and and scuff it up while we're putting in the shoulders. So shoulders will follow once it gets a little cooler out. And here's a great picture of what a sanitary lateral, what it takes to replace these sanitary laterals. So what we did is we replaced the main couple weeks ago. We temporarily hook up the sanitary laterals, and then we come back and redig them up. And then that's a good connection for a sanitary lateral. You can see the water line is kind of out of our way right now. And working with the water department, we'll shut their water off while we do this. And then the water department will hook it back up for us. With that, I'll take any questions.
Any questions, Chris? Okay, Chris, you're off the hook.
All right. To follow up on the Arlington Street project, the water utility did do a pipe bursting project where they put in a new water main on that street. And as part of their work, they are doing reconnecting all the services. They had temporary water run for that project and working with Chris and his crew to get the services taken care of on that project. On the 17th Street project, all the work between Peach and Vine is complete. All the underground and grading is complete on the section between Vine and Cedar. This week, by Friday, we should have all the underground and grading completed on the portion between Maple and Cedar. So things are moving along pretty quickly there. They're anticipating and possibly starting the curb and gutter work between Maple and Vine Avenue the week of the fair. There's a temporary fence that they put up along the hockey building to keep facilities out of the Vine Avenue project. Last week, they replaced the concrete at the intersection of 17th and Maple, although now they have to remove a panel. As you see that we had a young child try riding his bike through it. So that really adds to some of our project. They just didn't have somebody stay on the project to make sure the kids stayed off of it. So, and Marshfield Utilities is working on Cedar Avenue from 1st Street to 6th Street to begin replacing lead services in that area. That project will replace, I think, approximately 20 to 30 lead services on that section. So we'll see that holes begin on that street very shortly. And that's about the bulk of what I have going right now.
All right, any questions for Tom? Mike?
When is Maple Street going to be open, do you think?
We have to schedule the ramps, the asphaltic ramps. We're hoping, if everything goes well, by the end of the week or early next week. The portion of concrete that we pulled out, we talked about on Friday and or Thursday about trying to put maybe a little bit higher strength concrete in there, a 7-bag mix versus 6. So we can get the asphalt taken care of as soon as possible.
The reason I asked, we had a big event the other night, and half of my Legionnaires, was about 250, were wondering when they're going to find an easier way to get to the post. Because when you think about going down 14th, you made a mistake. You shouldn't have done it. You should have went down Peach. You would have been better off. So that's the only reason I'm asking.
Well, hopefully very soon.
Okay.
They had a maximum window of 25 days for having that intersection shut down. So, and we built that intersection up 3 inches in anticipation of the future overlay that'll take place. I think it's scheduled for 24 on the remaining portion of Maple Avenue.
Any other questions for Tom? Okay, we'll move on to item 5, a review of the purchase of speed humps for East 17th Street. By Tom.
All right, I'm going to start out by apologizing. As an engineer, I was directionally challenged when I wrote this Friday morning, and it's West 17th Street, not East 17th Street. We had a request to consider the purchase of speed control devices for use on East 17th Street or West 17th Street near Wildwood Park. We received many complaints throughout the city from residents about excessive speeding. The city presently uses several methods to assist with these complaints, which include the following. Radar speed signs. These produce immediate feedback and encourage drivers to slow down. We do move these signs to different locations throughout the city to address various complaints, and these signs do help on average to reduce traffic speeds by 10 to 20% while they're in place. We also have flashing beacons and RRFBs, which are random flashing beacons. These provide warnings to drivers about pedestrians in school speed zones. We also use increased enforcement. This method provides immediate reduction in speeding due to the financial repercussions for those who are speeding. These methods do wane after enforcement is moved to other locations within our community. Additional speed limit signs, although additional signs reaffirm the speed limit on some of these streets, it's unsure if there's any additional benefit by just adding additional signs. So one of the traffic calming methods that can be used to assist in reducing complaints related to speeding that remains in place 24 hours, 7 days a week is a speed hump. Speed humps are rounded, raised areas of pavement that require drivers to reduce their speed in order to maintain comfort and prevent vehicle damage, typically 10 to 20 miles per hour. Speed humps are not to be confused with speed bumps, which are 3 to 5 mile an hour tools, and which are taller and less wide, making it more jarring for drivers. Humps work best on roads with slower speed limits and require multiple humps placed in a series, making them ideal for residential neighborhoods. They should have an accompanying signage or pavement markings to warn drivers in advance. Speed humps can reduce the average speed by 20 to 25% between humps, with an average crash rate reduction of about 13%. I pulled that information from the ITE. There are cheaper measures other than speed humps are highly effective, but speed humps are a highly effective way to reduce speeds in residential neighborhoods. I did contract a supplier to get an approximate price for a speed hump and the appropriate signage. And for each installation, you're looking at approximately $4,600. One thing to consider is that speed humps have to be removed in the winter due to snow plowing operations, so they can only be up during our summer months. Therefore, I'd recommend that the city purchase 3 speed humps and signage at a cost of $13,800, and for the remainder of the 2022 season, they be placed on West 17th Street by Wildwood Park. Are there any questions?
Mike, I think I saw you first.
We're both.
This Mike.
Are these reused?
Yes, you could put them in the spring, or if you decided that you wanted to try them in a different location in the city, you could put them in a different location, yeah.
I'm going to oppose this for a couple of reasons. I've got the same problem in my neighborhood. Since we fixed Cleveland, it becomes like
There's a long lead time for this. I did ask the police department if they could pull any information off of their radar signs, and they're still trying to the new user is still trying to figure out how you pull that information off those signs. I know it's possible, but Dennis is retired, so I used to be able to get that information pretty quickly. We could put our traffic tube counters out, and we could easily determine what those speeds are pretty easily.
Because I know that people tend to overestimate what a speed is when they see a car that looks like it's racing down the street, and it may only be going 5 miles over the speed limit or maybe 10 miles over the speed limit, which in a park area is considerable. But I'd be interested in finding out what that speed is before we spend money we don't have on items.
I could probably get those out this week, and we could have it before the next Board of Public Works meeting if you guys so desired.
That's what I'd be comfortable with, is seeing what those numbers are as far as what the speeds actually are there before we spend them.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay. Dan.
Just add a comment here that while there could be a request for these in other locations, I do think it's good to try these in the spot. We've not tried these before. We have tried the speed bumps on a project where we had, I think it was when Central Avenue was closed. We put some speed bumps in the alleys to control the speed of the extra traffic moving through the alleys. And we have a supply of a few of those around, and they did work well. I do think there's some value in just trying it to see how they work here in our community, and especially adjacent to a park where the speed limit is 15 miles an hour. Trying to get that speed limit honored is tough. So there's some value in giving it a try.
And with collecting data, we could collect data before and after and see if there's actually a reduction in speed associated with that.
Mike?
Do you have any? What is, are they, are you at that?
No, they're a kind of a hard rubber, kind of like what you'd see in, trying to think of something we've used recently that's similar to that. No, they're a kind of a hardened rubber, or more of a plastically stiff. So they basically get bolted to the road surface or anchored to the road surface. You put the signs up. That's why they could be removed for winter operations and then reinstalled there or at another location in the following year. And it's something that could be reused, yes.
I get the sense that we're not ready for this yet, but I'll entertain any motion anyone wants to make as far as approving that.
Even if there was a motion on some direction that you wanted us to take or next steps out.
I just think that, yeah, if Tom brings back the numbers for our next meeting, that'll, maybe we can put it back on the agenda for our next meeting and be convinced. Okay?
All right.
Item number 6 is a draft ordinance for ATV, UTV routes on city streets. Again, Rich.
All right, a few weeks ago, we brought this forward to begin the process of looking at ATV, UTV use in the city of Marshfield. From that, kind of cleaned up some of the proposed ordinance. And even after doing that, I've noticed some things that I've already picked out that I'd like to update again yet on it. If you take a look at the ordinance in section 7, parent N, it says the following streets in the city of Marshfield are open to ATVs, UTVs shown on the appropriate map in blue. I did highlight those in blue, and it's the same color as some of the adjacent township roads, so that would show up in that map. That way that shows what's open for an actual route. The following locations are the shortest route to an approved route. I have noted as yellow, but if you take a look at the map, those are actually light blue. Those are some of the interior roads. And then those streets that are prohibited from use for any type of ATV, the ones that are highlighted in red. So I'd like to just clean up some of those items in that. I want to bring this to the Board of Public Works to keep the process moving with this ordinance, because I know there's some interest. I know there was a lot of interest by Adam Fisher, and I noticed he's not here tonight, so we may want to just table this or just maybe just forward it to the city attorney to get him to start looking at it. And I was looking for input from the Board of Public Works as if there are any possible changes that would be proposed to what we had from the original and what this current proposed ordinance would be. And I'll go to the proposed maps and routes. If you take a look at the maps and routes, the dark blue lines like Galvin Avenue, 29th Street, Lincoln Avenue, a section of McMillan Street, those dark blue lines would be actual routes in the city of Marshfield, getting you to and from other ATV, UTV routes in the county. The routes that are highlighted in red would be those that are prohibited for use. You can't be on a state trunk highway. Wood County has labeled any of their streets that have a traffic volume of 2,500 vehicles per day or higher, county trunk highways, as not legal for use for ATVs and UTVs. So what we did was took a look at what our street network was, and we would probably allow crossing of the red routes as part of that so that you can get to larger portions of the city to and from your homes or to and from a local business, but we would not want you on those streets that have higher volumes of traffic on those. Even after producing this map last Friday, there's a couple changes I'd still like to make to it. I'd like to extend a route a little bit north on Peach Avenue to maybe to 21st Street, and that would get a couple of those little side neighborhoods included, because we have lower traffic volumes on that end of on Peach Avenue, which then would make the map more inclusive of getting around to or from a home or a business. So I'm kind of looking for information or input from you as the Board of Public Works on what you think of the current proposed map and the current ordinance as it sits. What I'd probably look for tonight is maybe just direction to move it forward, to have the city attorney start looking at it and review it. And I'd like to bring it back in a couple weeks when Adam is actually here and the full body is here to start making any actions towards moving this to the council for their consideration. Are there any questions or concerns at this point? Okay. Dark blue would be the routes that are actually posted in the city of Marshfield. The lighter blue colors are the routes where you could go to and from a home or a business to one of our major routes. And then the streets that are kind of a gold or yellow, gold color or light brown would be, you wouldn't be able to get access to those locations by not using, you wouldn't have access to those locations just because to get there, you would have to be on one of the routes that we designated as not suitable for UTV, ATV use. And then if you take a look at the purple lines, as you take a look to the east of the city of Marshfield, like Trout Road or Contrank Y or H, and to the south of the city of Marshfield, like Highway 10 and Washington, those two townships have not approved any type of ATV, UTV use in their townships. Therefore, you wouldn't be able to progress into those townships of the town of Marshfield or the town of Cameron. In my discussions, when I brought this forward with Wisconsin Department of Transportation, the representative I spoke to thought we might be one of the largest communities in the state that would be possibly opening up a majority of their roads to ATV, UTV use. So.
I looked over the proposed ordinance, and I've looked over some other ones from other communities, and I think we did a good job of kind of condensing some of that information down so it wasn't so burdensome, and yet protecting the things that we need to protect, speed and helmets and things like that. I think it's a good job. What's the pleasure? Do we want to pass this on to the city council tonight, or do we want to
Pass it on.
let Tom tweak it a little bit and bring it back?
Hey, Tom,
Yes.
you said there's a possibility of crossing these roads?
Yes.
Let's
yes.
say over there on Anton and Emerald, where you could cross Becker or Y and go up to Emerald and Hume up there in that little orange.
Yes,
section?
and that was one of the changes I wanted to make, because
Okay.
after looking at this, I think that we can make that one piece fit. It kind of leaves Palmetto in that upper area around the high school out, but
Right.
you know, we can't be 100% inclusive, but I do think that crossing the roads, if you take a look at, let's take, for example, Western Street.
Mhm.
If you were living on Western Street, there's really no good way to get to the route to the north or to the east, so you most likely would end up having to come down to Blodgett, cross St. Joseph's to Chestnut, and then work your way down to one of the side streets that would get you to one of the local ATV routes. What we're looking at is we don't really want the majority of our city streets to be just used to run constantly, these to be a replacement for vehicles. It's to get you to a route so that you can take and go to a destination or go someplace here or there, or get customers or people that are touring to get into our city or go to our local businesses. You certainly, I don't think you want to see 30 or 40 ATVs running up and down Central Avenue competing with car traffic.
We- 'cause Could they take the food route?
Yes. I would propose that, make sure that our ordinance reads that they could go to a local restaurant and then back to that route.
Yeah, pass it on.
Do you want a motion to? do
Yeah,
that?
why don't you take a motion to pass it on with a little bit of cleaning
Okay,
and then to forward it to the city attorney for his review before it hits the
I'll
council.
make that motion.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to forward this to the city council for their consideration after the tweaks are made and it's passed through the city attorney's office. Would that be by the next council meeting or following one?
It depends on our attorney's availability.
Okay. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Seeing none, that motion carried. Item 7 is recommended items for future agendas. Do we have any? Dan?
Just one thing to mention, coming up in September, the first Monday of September is on the holiday, Labor Day. Normally I'd have an item on the agenda to change the date, time of that first meeting. I wasn't here last week, so I forgot about it. But without objection, we would propose that the meeting be held on Tuesday, September 6th at 5:30 p.m.
Okay.
And I'll make that announcement at the council meeting next.
Okay. We need a motion for that at all? Or
No, it wasn't
I
an
think we
agenda
just
item,
continue.
so,
Okay. we can't make a motion? Okay. Any other recommended item? Okay. Motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Fires, second by Mr. O'Reilly. We're adjourned.